No convocation.
You are speaking. You have to unmute yourself, Dari. I know you are saying something, but we didn't hear you. So unmute yourself.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, you can.
I'm so glad to be here with you guys.
Speaking. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay. Let me. Okay.
Yeah, you can. We can hear you now. So, and now we are live on YouTube as well. So, and
okay,
yeah, so you can. So I think we should start. And let's give. It's 9:07. Probably we give 3 more minutes, and then we can start. We can start.
When it's 4:30, let me know so that
it's going to be 4:30. No, I said when we give just 3 more minutes, we can start.
Yeah.
Before 10.
Let me know.
Yeah. So I will let you know so that we can. We don't keep people waiting. There are other plans that people have, and they can go on their stuff.
Yes, can you hear me, guys? Because I don't know if I'm muted or not.
Yeah.
Sorry, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, yes, let me just mute myself because I'm confused about this thing. Okay, fine.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. Can see quite a number of people joining, and good morning and and good afternoon.
Yes, I sent the link to some guys to join us as well.
All right. Yeah. So in 1 minute we're going to start because people have some other things to do, and we are live on YouTube. Okay. And at the end of this program, we can broadcast it. I mean, people can go back and watch it later. So,
okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen.
You can put yourself on mute if you are not speaking.
Hearing what he's saying again.
All right, it's 10 minutes past the hour. So, Babasho, you can take it over from here, and we can start.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today it's my pleasure to welcome all of us to this public seminar on cyber security. We have carefully taken the theme to be cyber insecurity and you closing the gap. And of course, we were able to come to this conclusion in view of the fact that after religious or political terrorism, I think cyber terrorism now is on the high side globally, and all of us are victims. All of us are victims, and this is why we think all of us should continue to meet and have this on our table for discussion and get our experts to talk about it and enlighten us on how we can't continue to be a victim of cyber insecurity. No one is safe. Banks, government, individuals, industries, organizations. Accounts are hacked anytime. Security information are hacked anytime. And of course, people form a lot of spyware to enter it. So today we have the honor of having in our midst to do a thorough work on this topic, cyber security and closing the gap. It's my pleasure to introduce our eminent scholar, a doctor that has done a lot of work in homeland security and is academic leader of national security. And of course, a professor of cyber security. Is based in US and has written so many books and publications. I had the opportunity to even review one of his books that really enlightened me to know that cyber security from government to government, they do a lot of stupid things on cyber security. So it's a war that all of us are not safe. Of course, I'm talking of Professor Oludare Ogunlana that is going to take us within some minutes, at most 50 minutes, on what it is, how do we get here, how can we cope, how do we prevent, and what are the logistics available, particularly in Nigeria, Africa, and entire globe. So it's my pleasure to welcome you, Professor Oludare Ogunlana, who was also students president, National Nigerian Student President in Nigeria, and of course in African Students Union, and has been a leader of youth community, and of course a very responsible family man. So, Professor Oludare Ogunlana, please have the floor. Thank you. 50 minutes.
Thank you, Comrade Adiola Shwetan. We always call you Baba Show. Thank you very much for your leadership over the time. I started my career as an activist. I deliberately use that word career because there's no people say there's something like career in activism. But the reality is that if you don't stand for something, you are going to fall for anything. So as an activist, we started building our values, and Comrade Adiola Shwetan happens to be one of those who actually shaping our values, who provided leadership. I mean, make us to become principled. Well, we don't agree all the time, so I will not agree to call myself comrade. I'm not a socialist, but I mean, today, I can say that the leadership of Adiola Shwetan, because he was very, very, very close to us more than anyone. I mean, he left in terms of age, the age is so wide, but he left his base and moved to where we are, devoted all his life, I mean, trying to shape young people, preparing them for future. Again, of time and time, I always thank you, I mean, for instilling that discipline. And distinguished guest, organizer, and participant, thank you for joining. I mean, it's a great privilege to stand before you. I'm not standing, I'm sitting though, as we discuss these very urgent challenges in our time, cyber insecurity, and the critical need to close gap in cybersecurity awareness and resilience. Let me begin by properly introducing myself again. I'm Oludari Ogunlana. Call me doctor. I worked very hard to get that one, right? A seasoned cybersecurity expert with over 15 years of experience in national security, as Babashio mentioned, cyber intelligence, and digital defense strategies. I've dedicated my career to protecting critical infrastructure. I mean, that's in the last 15 years, advising organizations on cyber threat and shaping policy that safeguard individual, businesses, and nations against this kind of evolving threat. As a national security scholar and academic leader in cybersecurity, I've had the privilege of training intelligence professionals, law enforcement agencies, and corporate leaders on how to counter cyber threat. I've conducted extensive research on cyber warfare, digital forensic, and the intersection of cybersecurity with national security policies. And my work has contributed to building resilient security framework that help government and organizations, to stay ahead of cyber criminals and nation-state actors. Recently, I published a book that I call Nigerian Cyber Power and National Security. We made it simple so that because we know these people don't like to read, so that people can actually look at what is in there and digest what is in there and understand the threat, which of course we face in our lifetime. So I've also been deeply involved in cybercrime investigation, the private intelligence analysis, and cybersecurity education. We want to ensure that the next generation of professionals, they are equipped, to tackle the sophisticated cyber threat, which of course we face today. Sorry, people are joining. I'm trying to admit them at the same time. Today, we're all here because cyber insecurity is no longer a distant problem. It's at your doorstep. It's at our doorstep. Nigeria and Africa as a whole, we are facing unprecedented cyber threats, from financial fraud and identity theft to ransomware attacks and cyber espionage. Cyber criminals are evolving every day, but the question is that, are we evolving fast enough to counter them? Again, thank you, Comrade Adeola Adeola, for organizing this program. It never crossed my mind. But the moment you told me, so okay, then we get to prepare. We get to prepare our people. And this seminar is not just about discussion. It is about solution, action, and empowerment. And my goal is to equip you with practical insight, real-world strategies, and actionable steps to protect yourself, your business, and our nation from cyber threat. And together, we can close the gap and build cyber resilient future. And now, let's get started. Let's get started. And I will start with this. A young entrepreneur, let's call his name Tunde, in Lagos. He had a thriving online business. He sold electronics, received payment via bank transfer, right? All the time, he gets his payment via bank transfer, and it's located in Ikeja, right? He used social media to promote his product. One morning like this, he woke up to find his bank account is empty. What happens is that overnight, cyber criminal, they gain access to his email, reset his banking credentials, and siphon off all his funds. The guy is devastated. He rushed to his bank, but the money was gone. Moved through multiple accounts beyond traceable. You cannot trace, beyond traceability. You cannot trace the money again. Tunde was not just a victim of cyber fraud, was a casualty of cyber insecurity. His story is not unique. Every day, thousands of Nigeria fall prey of online fraud, identity theft, ransomware, and phishing attacks. Businesses are losing millions, and critical national system face threat, from cyber criminals. The question is that, why are we so vulnerable? Cyber insecurity is not just technological issue. People always think it's just about technological issue. It is people, process, and the last part of it is technology. So it's an urgent crisis affecting individual, business, and even our national security. And this digital gap between cyber criminals and everyday user is growing wider. While attackers refine their tactics, many of us remain unaware of this danger lurking online. And again, this must change. And before going in that, I will give you some real life example. For instance, Nigeria has been targeted by various cyber threats, including those linked to nation-state actors seeking to disrupt our financial system, government infrastructure, and private enterprise. Now, let me start with nation-state actors before I go to individual. North Korea cyber actors, they target Nigeria between 2017 to 2021. That group, they are known, we call them Lazarus Group, APT Group, Advanced Persistent Group. They target Nigerian banks and financial system using Trojan, malware, cyber haste, and money laundering. In 2017, cybersecurity firm called Kaspersky, that's Russian company, reported that North Korean state-sponsored hackers attacked banks in Nigeria and 17 other countries. The campaign was linked to Lazarus Group, and that same cybercrime syndicate responsible for $81 million eyes from Central Bank of Bangladesh. The hackers infiltrated banking network using malware and social engineering tactics to steal our money. And don't forget also, everybody know about Hush Puppy. People will be thinking that probably Hush Puppy is so smart. But I tell you, Hush Puppy is not that smart. In 2021, US authority revealed that Nigerian social media influencer, that Raymond Abbas, that we call Hush Puppy, was working with North Korea hackers. And when they hack, they put money in his account. I mean, you'll be wondering, the guy who could barely speak correct English, you'll be wondering, somebody who dropped out from high school, how does he get those technical skills? The reality is that he was working with nation-state actors that has global reach, they have everything, and he's just laundering the money for them. We've seen case of Boko Haram that exposed all the data of our SSS personnel in 2012. That was in 2012. So the hack into Nigerian Secret Service database exposed names, addresses, bank details, and family record of those personnel. I mean, something familiar? Again, Black Ass Confraternity, they form a kind of global cybercrime operation from 2021 to present. We call them University Court Group. They've evolved into global cybercrime syndicate, engaging in money laundering, business email scams, and so on and so forth. And also, recently, cybersecurity experts warned that Africa, including Nigeria, is being used as a testing ground for nation-state cyber warfare. And that report suggests that government databases, our electoral system, and private sector networks has been infiltrated by foreign intelligence agency. They just want to test their cyber tactics because they know we are not prepared. And this kind of intrusion include data exfiltration. What we call data exfiltration is that they're stealing data, from our system. So we've seen the rising threat of state-sponsored ransomware attack against Nigerian bank up to today. If they are not reporting it, well, because they don't want the people to be afraid, in July 2024, our own Nigeria Computer Emergency Response Team, they detected increase in ransomware attacks that target our critical cloud service, the provider in Nigeria. And that report suggests that foreign cybercrime syndicate, possibly state-sponsored group, are responsible for that, right? So that's about nation state. If you are thinking that, okay, one way or the other, I've not been, it has not touched me, just wait for it. They are coming. Now, let me give you another risk scenario, which of course may be related to you. Just imagine you wake up one day, just 1 second, I'm trying to get people in. People are trying to join. Yeah. Can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me loud and clear?
You are loud and clear.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to be sure people are able to hear.
Yeah, the audio. Can you make me co-host?
Pelad. Pelad, I will make you co-host and you just admit people for me. Pelad, I've done that already, please. All right, Pelad, you can just go ahead and admit people whenever they join. Again, Nigeria has been a kind of hotspot for various forms of cybercrime, as I've mentioned earlier on, ranging from online fraud, Yahoo, to financial scams, identity theft. Now we have organized cyber criminal network. Recently, I know some of you must have seen it in Punch newspaper, reported that some foreigners, they actually located to Nigeria and they were using our people, what we call cybercrime as service, using Nigerian IP address to be scamming people abroad, right? So the FBI reported in 2019 operation that arrested about 77 Nigerians. In August 2019, the FBI conducted massive cybercrime crackdown, and that led to 77 Nigerians arrests that involved 46 million fraud. Those criminals, they specialize in what we call business email compromise. Business email compromise, romance scams, and wire fraud, and they target individual companies across the globe. Now, how do they operate? The criminal use phishing emails, to impersonate executive or business partners. They trick victims into transferring millions of dollars into fraudulent accounts. They launder money through multiple accounts, including cryptocurrency, wallet, to avoid detection. How many of you remember Obi-Wan Okeke? The one we call Invictus Obi. In fact, the four back then name him as one of the most successful guy as at that time. So, one of the most high-profile figures in Nigeria as at that time among young people was arrested. He called himself entrepreneur who used his company as a front for cyber fraud operation. He defrauded American business of over 11 million before he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Imagine that impact, reputational damage that has done for Nigerian business abroad. So the FBI worked with Nigerian EFCC to arrest and get him, to the US to face the consequences of his crime. And that case exposed the fast international reach of Nigerian cybercrime network. And that led to increased scrutiny on Nigerian online financial transaction. Big one. You may think, okay, these guys are only targeting foreigners. They're targeting Oyinbos. I've seen a lot of people using different kind of neutralization techniques, to say, okay, after all, they're not targeting us. After all, they are collecting the money that they owe our forefathers. After all, it will move closer to us. The reality is that the Western world, the Americans, and those white, they are tightening up their security. And these days, it's not always easy for them. And you know what they've done? They've turned to the one we call Yahoo Plus. And that's the dark side of cybercrime. So, what is Yahoo Plus? Yahoo Plus is an evolved form of traditional Yahoo normal online fraud, where fraudsters use ritual, human sacrifice, and spiritual fortification to boost their cyber fraud success rate. They believe that ritual can help cyber criminals hypnotize victims, making them more likely to fall for their scams. Look at what is happening in Lagos State. Look at what is happening in Ogun State. Look at Oyo. Look at Edo State. Look at how, young people are being killed, for nothing. In 2022, 4 young men in Abeokuta, they were arrested for gruesome murder of a young woman for ritual purposes. They all admitted that they beheaded the girl, they burned her head as part of ritual to increase their wealth. So they consulted an herbalist and spiritualist to bless their scam operations. And the funniest part of it is that some of them said, okay, we only saw this thing on Facebook, right? So you can see that if you are saying, okay, they are targeting white people, it's coming very close to us, right? And that's exactly what is happening. And that's why all of us should be concerned. So cybercrime is, in Nigeria, as it falls from basic email scam, Yahoo to highly organized cyber criminal enterprise with international reach. The Yahoo Plus shows the dangerous blend of cyber fraud and ritualism. We've talked about Black Ass and similar group that turn cybercrime into billion-dollar industry. And law enforcement must step up effort to combat this network. I've seen people, including Comrade Adiola Shoetan one time, accusing EFCC that, okay, they left the big thieves and they are chasing these small fries. Well, it looks like that. Because all of us are disappointed that because we see our men in power who are stealing every day and nothing is being done to them. But I tell you, these young guys who call themselves Yahoo boys, the impact of what they are doing is closer to us with what they are doing with Yahoo Plus. Now, every day, I've seen reports of people being scammed. They take over people's account. They take over people's WhatsApp. In fact, one of my very close, our close friend, which of course you know is a lawyer, called me one day that one of the bank, I will not name the bank, they have crypto wallet in there where people invest. And one day they just discover that all the money has been moved to another account. Up to today, they have not been able to get the money. The person who's running the business has disappeared from Nigeria. Not that he stole the money, he stole the money by himself, but the reality is that there's no way he cannot, he cannot just stand his, and look at his customer in the face and say all the money they invested is gone, just like that. So how do we close this gap? Number one, awareness is our first line of defense, just like what we are doing today. Cyber threats succeed when people do not know they exist. We must educate ourselves, our families, and our community. And we can start with cyber hygiene, which of course must be our daily habit. When we wake up in the morning, we wash our mouth, right? We clean everywhere. So the same thing applies to cyberspace, using strong password, enabling multi-factor authentication, which is very important, and being cautious of suspicious links that can prevent major losses. All those things, it's not going to eradicate or it's going to stop attackers, but it's going to delay it. It's going to mitigate that. And business must take cybersecurity seriously, particularly small business. They are targeting small businesses all the time. Investing in protection measures, training employee, training yourself, enforcing strict policy is no longer an optional. It is necessary for survival. I've seen a lot of small businesses and say, okay, my OPay account was hacked. Every day I hear that. The OPay account is hacked and the money is being diverted. So it's important. Collaboration is key. Government agencies, private organizations, and individuals must work together to strengthen the digital resilience. So, and that's why I'm saying that let's today be a kind of turning point. And let this kind of seminar not just about learning, but about action. Take individual action, because we now know that cybersecurity is not a luxury. It is necessity. And if we fail to protect ourselves, we risk more stories like that of Tunde that I just mentioned earlier on. But if we take the right step, we can build secure cyber resilience in Nigeria. So here I will pause a bit, and I would like to take some of your questions. If you have some question, which of course you want me to address specifically. And prior to this, I've seen people that send me some form of question, which of course I've addressed, because many Nigerians still believe cyber threat only affect Americans and the global north, as Yahoo boys mainly target them. the person asked, why should individuals in Nigeria be concerned about cybersecurity? As I've mentioned earlier on, this is dangerous misconception. Of course, it is true that many cyber criminals in Nigeria often, target victim abroad. So cybersecurity is growing. It's growing threat. It's a growing threat to Nigerians themselves. For several reasons I've mentioned earlier on. Now they are targeting Nigerians. We've seen local phishing scam, online fraud, fake investment scheme. So they are on the rise. Many Nigerians have lost money to Ponzi schemes that disguise as crypto, forex trading, or betting platform. We've seen a case of SIM swap fraud, where that has led to unauthorized bank withdrawal from Nigerian account. And I give you a sample. Even if you use multi-factor authentication, my younger brother used to work somewhere in Lagos as an electrical engineer. And one of his very close friends wanted to take money from his account. First, he stole his phone, and they were looking for the phone together because he knew he usually normally get a lot on that phone. Now, eventually, his bank card disappeared. So for about 1 week, they were looking for phone, they were looking for bank card. He went ahead to go and buy another phone. By the time he got another phone, he went to bank, he discovered that all the money has disappeared without trace. But unfortunately, the cyber criminals, they always think they are smart. That's what we call Edmund Locard theory. In forensic, what we call Edmund Locard theory is that when a criminal enters a crime scene, thinking of the intensity of the crime, they always leave a signature behind. So it means anytime they commit crime, when they enter crime scene, they will leave something behind for us to be able to trace them. So this guy went to the ATM platform. He didn't know that anytime you take money at ATM, it takes your picture. And that was how we were able to identify who stole the money. And again, the recent one that all of you are so familiar with, when my cousin was killed in Nigeria, I'm able to say this now at this point in time because the case has been decided in court. He left Ife. He left Abuja going to Ife for his Obafemi Awolowo University in Ife. And he disappeared. We could not get him again. And my younger brother, Gabriel, called me and said, well, we have been looking for Dari. The wife just called now. And we could not get him. I said, okay, probably he must have been kidnapped. Let's wait for 48 hours before we start getting worried. Maybe somebody's going to call. After 48 hours, we didn't hear anything. So, but good enough. Upon landing at Akure Airport, the wife called him. He called his wife to say, okay, I've arrived. Give kudos to Nigerian police. When they want to work, they definitely do what they need to do. So pronto, we connected and were able to trace the last terminal where he received phone call. Another thing was that one of the person who actually committed murder, he took the phone with him and he took it somewhere in Osun State to go and sell the phone. So also with that evidence, which of course the cyber criminal or criminal will leave behind, then we're able to trace that. So we see SIM swap, fraud, very common in Nigeria. And they use it for fraud, they use it for different kind of things. I recall that former Governor Aregbesola at some point, his phone, SIM card was actually swapped and somebody was communicating with someone as if is the if you see Google that, you are still going to see the story. So we see banks and financial accounts, they are at risk today within Nigeria. I've given a sample of people, unauthorized transaction, identity theft, and account takeover. Every day they take people's WhatsApp account, and they start sending messages. One of our friends in Delta State, one day I just got a message and said, okay, comrade, I was stranded. I need money. Can you quickly send me 100,000? But I look at the pattern. This guy has never called me for a day. For this kind of issue. Then I quickly called Femi Lawson and said, okay, can you check on our friend? Then he quickly got back to me and said, okay, they've stolen his phone. And no, they didn't steal his phone. They hijacked his WhatsApp. And they started using that WhatsApp to be able to, to be communicating with people. I think it has happened to you also in the past, Baba Show, where someone hijacked your Facebook account or something, and they started asking for money. So we see business and job are being affected as a result of that. Hack website, online payment fraud, and ransomware attack. We've seen critical infrastructure like the one I gave about Boko Haram, the cyber sabotage, espionage, and insider trade. We've seen that happen. We've seen people taking their laptop for fix and all the private pictures. Even if you Google it or you see the one that happens to one of the celebrities in Nigeria, one of these Nollywood, he took his laptop to Ikeja for repair, and all our private pictures were taken out, and they started using that to blackmail her and said, okay, we are going to expose that if you don't pay us some so amount of money. And the lady started paying, and at that point when he could not pay again, she reported to police, and I think those guys were arrested and they sentenced them to for their violation. So we've seen data privacy violation and digital surveillance. Many Nigerians unknowingly exposed to personal information online, making them target for blackmail, doxing, social engineering attacks. So with that increasing of adoption, data breaches in fintech applications like OPay that I've mentioned, mobile networks and social media are becoming more rampant. So if you think that it's just about white men that they're attacking, think about your daughter, think about your sister, that those guys may be kidnap and kill, waste our life for the purpose of that. Think about your own personal safety. Think about your money. Every Nigerian, whether a student, entrepreneur, employee, or business owner, must take cybersecurity seriously at this point in time. Cybercrime thrive where there's ignorance. So awareness is our first line of defense. Again, thank you, Comrade Adiola Sheton, for having this. The same Yahoo boys who defraud foreigners today, as they've started targeting Nigeria. They're not even waiting for tomorrow. So you need to protect yourself, secure your data, and also take cybersecurity seriously. Also, someone asked me, many Nigerians still believe cyber threat only affect large organizations. Why should individuals be concerned about that? Also, I've talked about that as well. I mean, cyber threat do not discriminate. Individuals are prime target for cyber criminal because they often have weaker security measures. One of my cousins, I sent money, just maybe you send 100,000 and somebody is going to defy that money. 100,000 is somebody's salary in a month. So imagine the impact it's going to have. We've seen phishing attack, identity theft, and online scam targeting individual. So these are the most, when people are asking that question that, oh, it's only going to target bank, I said, no, forget about it. It's going to target everyone. I mean, one of the most common cyber threat affecting Nigeria today, and again, I will repeat that, online scams and fraud. Yahoo 419 scam, where cyber criminal trick people into sending monies under false pretense. We've seen phishing attack, SIM swap fraud that I've talked about, business email compromise, fraudster impersonate executive, to fund transfer to employee. Fake investment scheme is common in Nigeria. This Ponzi scheme, fraudulent platform that lure victim into Ponzi schemes disguised as crypto or forex trading. And again, you must have been reading a lot of scam in Nigeria, in recent time, where the so-called traditional rulers will meet people online. It's a form of cybercrime also. They meet them online, they said they are going to become Olori, and they continue sending money to them. It's a cybercrime. We see it every day. So they met online, this online romance scam. There's a case of a woman in London, in the UK, that said he met somebody who's supposed to become Alaafin. And if you Google it, you're still going to find it. They met online, they met on Facebook, and he started sending money with the hope that the guy is going to become Alaafin and he's going to be getting money, he's going to become Olori. So business must do everything. One, train your employee as much as possible, enforce strong password policy and multi-factor authentication, update your software, as many times as possible. And again, before I forget this one, I just read this, Daryl Assisi, I just read a story in your UK there. One guy in Nigeria bought new iPhone 16. And when he was coming at the airport, the phone fell in Muritala Mohammed Airport. On getting to the UK, he went to the Apple store and he wanted to change the phone so that, because he put insurance on it, only for them to open it and they discovered that, it's not iPhone, but it was so packaged and they sold the phone, for the guy as iPhone. So you need to be aware of that also. So it's important. Awareness is very important. Don't just go and buy. If you want to spend any money, anything worth about $1,000 that is going to be about 1 million plus, don't just walk by nearby shop. Go to the store, original store, the vendor that are carrying those things. Go and buy it in there. So it's very important. So again, part of the mistake that we make also is that we don't implement access control. Some of us on our phone, we put weak password. Some we see use this pattern, this thing, which of course is very weak. So make sure you have strong password. I mean, to your phone. So and audit from time to time. So audit your security from time to time. So and before I open floor for people who are going to ask questions. So someone asked, the Cybercrime Act of 2015 was enacted to combat cyber threats in Nigeria, and the federal government has been using it to muscle those that are speaking against government. He mentioned that also the pastor, if you say anything against their fake miracles today, they will just go connive with police and put that person under cybercrime law, and they will arrest that person. And we've seen that cases where Shawari has been moving from one another you have been moving from one court to another to bail them. So the reality is that anywhere in the world, particularly in our own climate in Africa, such law will be abused. It's going to be abused. So the purpose of that Cybercrime Act of 2015, I mean, supposed to be a crucial step towards criminalizing cyber offenses, such as hacking, identity theft, online fraud, right? Not, I mean, arresting people and saying, okay, because of cyber harassment, not violating people's rights based on the fact that they are speaking. So people have freedom of speech in Nigeria, and they should have freedom of speech. But at this point in time, it's been abused. But the key things, let us look at the positive side of it, that the purpose of that is to tackle all these problems we mentioned. And the police, EFCC are there, I mean, when all these things happen, you can report to them. So, and I want to say kudos to Nigerian police. I want to say kudos to EFCC for the role they have been playing, even though, I mean, at times those things get abused. We understand that. And that's part of our limitation of human, particularly in a country where our democracy is not that strong. So, limited cybersecurity infrastructure for tracking and prosecuting cyber criminals is one of the problems. Lack of public awareness, making individual easy target for fraud. Jurisdictional issues, as many cyber criminals operate internationally, at times you may not be able to go and pick them in Ghana or pick them in Cotonou or wherever where they're operating, and they are turning their IP address using VPN, and they look as if they are operating from Nigeria. So I will now leave the floor, I mean, for any kind of question that may come, I mean, from our audience before I my final conclusion. Now over to you, Comrade Adiola Shweta, and thank you.
We appreciate Dr. Oludare Okunlana for taking us through the world of cybersecurity and cyber insecurity, and for us to close the gap. On behalf of Citizenship Civic Awareness Center, aka Democracy Vanguard, I appreciate you much, and also appreciate our participants who will now have the floor to contribute to this very beautiful forum of resourcefulness. So please, we know the rules. Just raise up your hand and you'll be called. Please don't let us speak more than 3 minutes at most. Thank you. The floor is open. The floor is open for contribution question. Let me start with
that Elasticity is on mute. It's speaking, but we are muted. You have to shoot yourself.
No,
hello, guys. Hello, everybody.
Okay. You are on now.
Okay, yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yes. I just want to have one point. I mean, more or less like the advice that I mean, the awareness must start from schools. I mean, maybe from the primary school up to the secondary school and stuff, because and the government must also try to invest, because like you know, in because maybe just I mean, by buying computers for students, because some schools in Nigeria, I mean, they don't even have the computers at all. Because me myself, like just like my own personal stuff, I've been trying to give some computers to people just on Facebook. I mean, guys that are into tech and they don't have the access to computers, I send laptops to Nigeria and just to help them. But my point is, just like a school, like in a village, they don't have the access to the internet or the power supply, and you want to teach their kids on the computer issue, they cannot even know anything about it because they have not been able to see computers in life. So just tell me how you can now go and teach them. They don't have a computers or maybe laptop in schools, even their own school teacher. So me myself, I want the government to invest more in computer science in schools, because they have the money. Because like all the budget that they are spending on this education, we have, you know, like a billions of dollars or you know, so they should start from schools and create that thing for them. Because like all the villages schools, they don't have light, they don't have computers or even technology, and the teachers are not even paid well. So they cannot even be happy to even be going to school to teach them like all this awareness. So I would want to talk, I will to make my own advice that, I mean, more or less like advice to the government or you guys that if, I mean, and we can put some pressure on the government that they should take, I mean, the issue of this cybersecurity as something very serious, because apart from damaging our own image, because if you go to anywhere in the world, say you are Nigerian, I mean, they have this, this mindset. Maybe you are into Yahoo stuff. I mean, Josh Poppy. I've been to many conferences here, and I say that I'm from Nigeria. You know, they look at you as if maybe you are into Yahoo or like, you know, like all this stuff. So that is what I want to say. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. The one we call acting vice chancellor, advisor of something. Okay, you're welcome. Please speak. Please, who is on the line?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, esteemed elites. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we are hearing you.
Yeah,
Please.
we can.
Okay, good afternoon, esteemed elites. I will want to use this opportunity to appreciate our doctor for this information, for doing justice to this topic.
Thank you.
My question is this, doctor, please. You made mention of using a very strong password. Now, how can I ensure, and what are the best practices for creating and managing strong password? Secondly, and also how can I ensure that my home network and devices are properly secured? Thank you.
That's a very good question. Do you want us to respond one by one or wait for all the questions, Babashu?
Maybe in batches.
Okay.
So that you don't forget some questions. So after this one, then you can respond.
I think we should admit Halima Akaji before. Hello. Also,
Hello. Hello, good day.
Okay, one hand is now. Okay, please speak.
Good day.
Yeah, please.
It's Halima. Good day. I'm very delighted to attend this meeting. My name is Dr. Halima Akaji. Well, from my own point of view, I'm just going to make a contribution anyway. This is a very topical issue, especially with what is going on now with the abundance of technology. You know, the world is a global village. There's virtually no way you can exist without interacting with the cyberspace. However, the impact of cyber insecurity abounds. You know, one cannot overemphasize the impact. So I think the most important thing is that states, I'm talking about the state, I'm talking about the government and institutions should invest in cybersecurity. It's very important. I'm going to give an example. I'm not going to mention that particular institution in Nigeria. There was a particular time that the web space of a Nigerian institution was held at ransom by hackers. You know, a whole university, I'm not going to mention the name, could not do anything. Students could not register online. You could not access your receipts. You could not do your course registration because hackers had held their website. And it took weeks before they could. I wouldn't know what they put together and all that. So for an institution, you know, I wouldn't know why they couldn't put in place enough security measures to protect their web space. That's one thing. Then another thing is that we have the laws in place. I think it's also important that we look at the legal aspect of this. I'm actually a legal practitioner, so I'm also going to talk from the angle of law, that there are laws in place. You know, we have the Advanced Fee Fraud Act of Nigeria. We have the Cybersecurity Act of Nigeria. Yes, we have the laws. And because of Nigerian peculiarity, because of politics, everything is being politicized and border view, people tend to use those laws to winch on people. I think Nigerian judges should also make efforts to make those laws effective. It's one thing to have the laws in place. We can have laws in place. But the effectiveness of the law plays a very vital role. And by doing that, courts should make pronouncements that will give life to those laws, you know, by ensuring that where perpetrators are caught, those perpetrators are dealt with legally, you know, they are being punished. That is going to serve as deterrence to others. But, you know, because of the adversarial system of Nigeria, where a crime is being committed, you know, the prosecutor will have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. And if there is any little doubt, then the criminal is let go. Then, you know, it also continues. Then there's also need for awareness. You know, people should be aware. Almost everybody has been a victim or almost a victim. My WhatsApp was almost hacked a particular day. You know, I was being called up, oh, there is a meeting, just go and click the code and all that. So government should be more serious, and as institution too. And when people talk about cyber criminals are targeting people abroad, it's not like that. Even people in Nigeria, they call it local wire. People, a market woman who has, yes, they call it local wire. A market woman who has just an account that she's putting her money. Somebody will just come one day and carry the money away. So it is not true that cyber criminals are targeting people. It's just people in Nigeria locally are also being targeted. So that is my own contribution. I think then awareness is also very important. Let people be aware, you know, the impact of it, what people can do, you know, not being careless with our passwords, making sure that we secure our data. You know, I think that is going to thank you, Prof, for having us and for the discussion. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much, sir.
You are welcome. You are welcome.
Yeah, Prof, you can respond.
Okay.
Those questions before we get next questions.
And I'm glad that these two questions are coming from legal practitioners, two of them, legal practitioners. Eniola, so thank you very much for that question. Password, you know, we've always been telling people, don't use dictionary password. What we mean by dictionary password is just you just write, let's say you just write my full name, Oludare, and use that one as your password. We always tell people to use complex password. That's mixture of symbol, you know, words and number, and it must be long enough, you know, for it to be secure. So most importantly, password alone is not going to protect you, because there are a lot of tools today that the criminals are using to capture your password. So now you want to have what we call multi-factor authentication. For instance, for me to be able to log on to my Zoom to any of my account, so I must approve it from my phone and from one other thing. So multi-factor authentication is very important. A lot of time you see somebody trying to log into your account, but without the approval on your phone, it's going to be difficult. unless that person is able to steal everything that you use for approval, then that's when it's going to be successful. But guess what? Even if they're able to take that also, if they don't know the password to your phone, it's going to be very difficult. Well, except you are held at gunpoint, because we've seen the so-called police that stop Yahoo boys on the road, and they will tell them, open your phone, open this application. That's at gunpoint. Except you are held at gunpoint. So far, NIST and other framework, they still recommend you have multi-factor authentication and struct password, which is a mixture of numbers and words together, and it's more longer than 8 characters. I hope that answers your question. Then, going back to Barrister Alima, we talked extensively about some of those things you mentioned, and I'm glad you mentioned it also, how the law is being abused. But it's not just about Nigeria, it's everywhere in the world. I mean, law is on us, and it depends on whoever that is in position of authority. We've talked about how, I mean, they are using that same Cybersecurity Act of 2015 to be arresting people who are speaking against pastors, those who are speaking against injustice, and they call it cyber harassment and cyber stalking. So it's a old law of definition, lot of definition when it comes to what constitutes cyber stalking. So we have to look at the frequency. We have to look at if that person is saying the truth or not. So, but that's what we've seen in Nigeria. But we should not give up. So again, you talk about, I mean, the prosecution, which of course is always very difficult for you to go to court and get justice on that. It's not only Nigeria. Resources that you need to prosecute cybersecurity is very huge. And also technical expertise is very important, particularly when it comes to forensic. Even here in the United States, local law enforcement that doesn't have the kind of resources that FBI has, they lose their cases all the time, because you need someone who have cybersecurity expertise, digital forensic expertise, that will be able to go to the court of law and prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. And we have system, it's systematic. So for individual that has been affected, you may not have enough money to be able to get that, for your lawyer to hire digital forensic expert. And that's part of the problem, which of course we face when it comes to cybercrime. We've seen a lot of people that committed cybercrime and they walk free, because it's very difficult to prove. So, and the government don't have resources. Apart from FBI, at times it may require you to travel to another country because of this multi-jurisdictional issue that I've mentioned earlier on. So collecting, and you have all those tools, license some of those tools that we use for NCASE. We're talking about thousands in dollars of license for you to be able to use those tools. Because of that, no, we will not be able to do it. But give kudos to our police in Nigeria also. Whatever they want to do, they always find a way of doing it. And that's where law enforcement, the legal professional, they need to cooperate with cybersecurity professional to ensure that guarding the evidence, because the forensic lab from that crime scene, if you have destroyed the evidence from the crime scene, there's no way you'll be able to use it in the court of law. It's going to be thrown out in the court of law. And we've seen that happening also in the Western world as well. I hope I answer your question. All right. Thank you. I think we can get Peter Loye. Peter Loye, can go ahead and speak. You have the floor.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm Peter Loye from University of Agbo, as Chief Adiola will always say. Let me start from where the barrister stopped the other time on the issue of awareness. Awareness is kind of low. Most people around don't even know the issue of multi-factor authentication, just like Dr. Ogunlano said. In this past week, I know of 2 people, a husband and a wife, that lost their WhatsApp due to hackers. So I think there should be a legislation where this National Orientation Agency will at least give the people the basics of securing their phones, maybe it's internet enabled or not. So the other one I want to talk about is that in the news of late, I read something about North Korea supporting hackers against some countries and stuff like that. Is there international legislation to fight against cyber attackers fighting from one country, or is it just part of cyber warfare? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. You asked very, very important question. As I mentioned, the cyberspace is a new battleground where every actors are competing for relevance. So the nation state, that is the platform where they use today to conduct espionage, and we cannot stop them. There have been a lot of convention. As I'm talking to you here, sitting down, if you are looking at CrowdStrike now, you see millions of attacks that's been directed to the US, about thousands being directed to Texas. We have the screen. So that's what they do. Yes, it's a new battleground. The only country, the only continent that does not engage in that is Africa, which is very stupid that we're not doing it also. And I want to tell you, in 1735, the first espionage was conducted by the West, a French missionary who stole the secret of how they do porcelain in China. China used to be the custodian. They are the only one who have the intellectual property to do porcelain, and they export it all over the world. But when that secret was stolen by a French missionary in 1732, then that followed the market for China. And for time immemorial, nation state, they have been conducting espionage. How did China rise today? China stole everything they have today from the West. So how is Indian doing what they are doing today? They stole everything from the West. The only continent that's not doing anything about developing their own people is Africa. So there's no any rule. The only thing is that thou shall not be caught. If you are caught, it's a problem. Like I give you an example of North Korea. For about 7 years, they were stealing money from all the banks for about 17 from some 17 countries, including Nigeria, to fund their nuclear weapon program. And we didn't know until when FBI discovered that, and they have to bust them. For all of you be celebrating Hush Puppy today. Oh, Hush Puppy is very brilliant. It's very intelligent. But Hush Puppy is not intelligent. Hush Puppy is just, what do you call those we collect? It's just picker. Hush Puppy is just a picker for North Korea, because most of the hacking they conducted, they are sophisticated one. And that's another story of another guy in Cote d'Ivoire. He even become a senator, you know, working for nation state actors like that. So you see, so the only, for espionage, that is what nation states are doing today. Russia, they want to steal information about how they are doing their defenses. India, we want to launch espionage attack, and so on and so forth. So there's no any law. They always sign convention that they're not enforceable. So, and that's the reality. So the nation state, they are taking advantage of that complex environment. And if you don't have the technical skill, and that's what I will talk about when we conclude about what Dari asked the other time about what should be the role of government. And that is part of what I discussed in my book I published 3 years ago about Nigerian, the Nigerian cyber power. What should we do? I mean, to compete, to stay competitive in the community of nations. If you look at Africa today, in AI world, we are not there. In internet age, we are not there. In industrial age, we are not there. And up to today, the same way we farm in Africa, that's the same way we farm. And today we have AI, which of course can help us in cropping and everything. We are moving towards quantum computing. So, and with quantum computing, you can solve so many problem of food, problem, all kind of cancer research and everything. And Africa is nowhere in there. We care about getting certificate. Coming back to what Dari mentioned, in Japan, how many universities do they have? Not many universities. In Africa today, all of us want to get degree, want to have first degree, so that when you get that degree, you want to look for government agency where you be shooting them. Like one month, my brother will say, okay, you just want to get a certificate, so we are not thinking about what can I do with what I learn. So now that takes me back to issue of technical education. In China today, what kind of education do they have? They don't stop you. In America here, there are community colleges, right? There are technical institutes where when you we are still talking about HND, this dichotomy, but what are we doing with that? And that's what we need to address. Where do we see ourselves? When I was NANS president, I was a member of, what do they call it that time, Abashu? The one shared by Vision 2020 for education or something. I was in that committee. But we come out with this, all this robust plan. Who implement that? Everything's always on the paper. And that's the issue. Thank you for raising that. Any other question before we are running out of time?
Sharif Olamide.
I think Sharif just spoke, right?
Yes, sir.
Sharif
Yes, sir.
just spoke.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you to the analyzer as well. So my question is, so I know cybersecurity requires a lot of certification from the Security Plus, CISP to this, for us that didn't study computer science in university. But the main domain is actually penetration testing. I've been in that for over a year now. But what is most people like, if you don't have certification here in Nigeria, you don't have a level field playing ground to test your skill, because you actually need permission to test websites, to infiltrate systems, blah, blah. So we resort to doing bug bounties with people of other nationals to hack on Facebooks, blah, blah, blah. So is there like an avenue that we can do something like that in Nigeria, something like an hacker team, because everyone keeps focusing on creating awareness, blah, blah, blah. Why that is good for us that in the technical field, the technical background doing this, can we have also like an avenue to just use our skill, because we just resort to waiting for the day that we leave Nigeria and use our skill. And that will equally result to more of brain drain for people out here. Thank you, sir.
I am dropping my email for you on the chat to reach out to me. I'm a pen tester. But you see, people don't understand. Cybersecurity is not just about hacking. Cybersecurity is everything. But everybody always look at cybersecurity as hacking. Even students, when you ask them, why do you come here, they want to hack, right? It's not just about hacking, it's everything. Part of what we're doing, we have marketer in cybersecurity, we have HR in cybersecurity, we have risk advisor in cybersecurity that focus on risk management. In fact, all of us in cybersecurity, we are risk advisor, because all what we are talking about today is about risk mitigation. And that's what we do for organizations as well. Pen testing, ethical hacking, it's about using your skill and think like criminals, think like cyber criminals, and try to do the same thing cyber criminals normally do on another person's website. What sets us apart is that we always get permission to do that. And the purpose of doing that, our intent is to ensure that the network or the organizational resources is resilient enough to be able to see all the weaknesses for us to be able to correct all those weaknesses. And that's the purpose. But other than that, we operate the same way that hackers operate. And that's why they call us white hat hackers. But for the other guys, we call them black hat hackers. Black hat hackers are those bad guys we have been talking about, who use their skill for bad thing. And then we have gray hat. The gray hat are like hermaphrodite. If the money is good, they will go there, to do the bad things. If also the money is good to do the right thing, they can sway any point in time. Now you talk about certification. You see, you can go to school, even in America here, you can go to school and graduate anyhow, right? You can bribe your lecturer, you can blackmail your lecturer. School can allow you to graduate and make sure you pass just because they want to maintain their grant. But one thing to prove that you know what you are doing is certification. I have over 16. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, you see I have about more than 16 industrial certification, including 2 in pen testing. The only way you can test that you actually know the fundamental and you can do pen testing is when you have certification. And that's how you can prove yourself that you are truly certified. Notwithstanding, there are few people who don't have certification, who already, it's either they are working on their own and somebody can recommend them. Like if you are working for me and I know you are good, I can write a recommendation for you. But think about it. In Nigeria, the awareness about cybersecurity is still very low. And also we have low self-esteem in Nigeria. there are a lot of talent in Nigeria, but Nigerian government would prefer to go and hire somebody from Hungary, from Israel, because of the money they want to steal. And that's why you see, if you look at our cybersecurity market in Nigeria today, it's being dominated by foreigners because we don't really believe in ourselves. Meanwhile, we have a lot of talents. Young people are using that talent in a very wrong way. Well, currently I'm working with the new MBTI director, that's National Board of Talent Incubator, Technology Incubator, and maybe this year we are going to have our ACAS conference, the first ACAS conference in Africa. So we always go to Black Art here and everything. We have different kind of ACAS. We come together, whether you are black or you are gray or you are white ACAS, we come together where we test our skill. Then with that, we're able to identify talent. There's some people, because certification is very expensive. So for you to write CEH, it's going to cost you about $5,000 to buy a book. And to write the exam is going to spend another $1,000. If you multiply $5,000 with the Naira rates now, you say, okay, I cannot do this one. And you do not even guarantee that if any of the banks in Nigeria hire you, they're going to be able to pay you. When are you going to recoup your money? And that's part of the problem. And part of what I'm proposing to NSC also is to ensure that we have our own way of certifying our people, just like the way we have WAEC, in that you can use it anywhere in the world. So we should be able to have our level of certification. Professor Peter Okebukola has discussed this with me for so long time, that we can certify our own people and you'll be able to pay, and your certification will be able to compete with that of EC Council, compare with that of CSSP and everything. And it's going to be recognized. Just like the way when you carry your certificate from University of Ibadan, from University of Lagos, from Obafemi Awolowo University. I mean, those few universities today, they can still go to any university, I mean, in the United States or anywhere in the world. I hope I answer your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Any other questions?
Maybe to round off, if there's no other question, I want to ask this fundamental question. Can the world be saved from some necessary?
You are breaking out. I can't hear you. Yeah.
Why has can the world be permanently saved from cyber criminals, even if all necessary things are done? Why I'm asking this is like, as we are progressing on cyber security awareness and of course technology, we continue to have cyber criminal advancing over and above what is being done. I speak here about many apps being developed. As you are developing apps to secure your network, the criminals are also developing super apps. Will there be any balance or any equilibrium or a stoppage to cyber criminal or criminality in the world? Thank you. So after this, we can round up.
Well, Babasho, this world has never been safe. And let us remove cyber. Criminals are criminals, irrespective of whether we are cyber or we don't have cyber. They break the laws. And criminals will always be among us. And we cannot eradicate it. All what we can do is to mitigate it. And that's why security is a process. Cybersecurity is a process. It's a process. It's not a project. No project will have the beginning and as end. But security is a process. It's a continuous process. Some 4 years ago, we're not talking about AI. Today, the phishing scam that we do in the past, when we tell people to be looking for phishing scam over here, we'll be looking at, okay, their English is going to be bad. They are going to make some errors. But today, you don't even need to know how to write good English. You can use ChatGPT to write for you in any language. And also, yes, and it's going to write it for you perfectly. If you want to write Australian English, you write it. If you want to write American English, it's going to write it. And nobody will know. So as the technology is evolving, so also the threat landscape is becoming sophisticated. By next year, we'll be talking about quantum computing. All this encryption we are talking about, boom, with quantum, is going to break it. And why Western world are preparing for it. Africa, we are not preparing for it. So straight to your question, criminals will always going to be around us. What has never been safe? We only need to do our part to ensure that we mitigate that threat as technology is evolving. And part of that step is what we've done today, awareness. A lot of people don't even know most of these things we talk about. A lot of people don't know how to secure their phone. A lot of people don't know how to secure their bank account. A lot of people still share their password with people. A lot of people do all this unhygienic cyber security process. So awareness is the first line of defense against all that kind of stuff. And I want to tell you one thing, that the cyber criminals, they are not as smart as the way we think they are smart. And that is why they use social engineering. Social engineering has been around with us for so long time, and it's still going to be here with us because of ignorance of the people. A lot of people don't know. Two, people want to help. So at every point in time. And the cyber criminals, they don't need to break, they don't need to hack into your system. They only need to manipulate you to open the door for them. And that's what they do. All of us, we are greedy. Imagine you see someone send an email to you and say, you've won some money, 5 million naira. You just need to click this link and you want to take it. They manipulate your greed, your emotion, right? Your decision. And that is the same tactics that the nation state actors are using also. Now, there's one virus that destroyed a lot of things called I Love You virus. That was 1988. The method that David Smith, who designed that virus, what he did was that he linked that message to adult content. And you just receive email that this is password you are looking for. Click on it, and you are going to see some people having sex or they are doing something bad. And then the moment you click on it, it turns to be virus. So the attackers use all those methods to be able to break us. And social engineering is one of the success rate is very high, and they will continue using that. So the world is not going to be safe. As we have new technology, don't forget, there's something like highway robber until when we have highway. There wasn't anything like train robber until when we are train. So there wasn't anything like cyber criminal, not until when we have the boom of the internet. And that's how it's going to be. So as we are evolving, we are going to the criminals are going to be evolving, and people have taken career in criminal activities. And let me tell you why it's very easy. Number one, anonymity. When all of us gang up now that we want to go and rob a bank, the chances that all of us are going to be killed is very high. But when all of us gang up here now that we are going to break into bank in Nigeria or anywhere in the world, it's easy. We can do it, and they may not know for good 6 months. And by the time they know, we will have finished spending, the money. And that's what happened to those who are doing ransomware attack. When they launch ransomware attack, one of the ransomware attack here that affected the oil industry, the oil line, the attackers collected 10 million. FBI arrested them. Out of that 10 million, they were only able to get 4 million. And when they sentenced them, probably they only sentenced them to 3 years in prison. Look at Oshwapi. Oshwapi with his gang, they stole all that kind of amount of money they stole, and they put him in 10 years in prison. And that 10 years in prison in America, it's just maybe about 5 years he's going to spend, and come back and be spending his money. So you can see that it's very profitable. So it's profitable for them to take that risk. And that's why they do it. And they will never stop it. Now, in rounding off, if there's still any other question again, we have spent time discussing dangers of cyber insecurity, the evolving threat we face, and the urgent need for action. But knowledge alone is not enough. So what we do after this seminar, we determine whether we remain vulnerable or become resilient. The reality is very clear. Cybercrime is no longer a distant problem affecting only global north. It is here in our doorstep, in our businesses, in our financial system, and even in our critical infrastructure. Cyber criminals are becoming more sophisticated, and we do nothing about it. We all continue, to become easy target. So I leave you with this challenge. Do not wait until someone you know becomes a victim before taking cybersecurity seriously. And my call for action is going to be for individual, take cybersecurity seriously. For business, invest in cybersecurity training, train your employee. Also for government and law enforcement, which is key. It's important to strengthen cybersecurity policy enforce Cybercrime Act, the Cybercrime Act of 2015 in a very good way, invest in threat intelligence. Cyber criminal must know that Nigeria will no longer be safe, even, for fraud and digital crime. And for educators and industry leaders, it's important to champion, the awareness, teach, train, and mentor the next generation of cybersecurity professionals who will defend our digital economy. That Lasisi raised something very important. Infrastructure has always been our problem in Nigeria. Government is not investing. Individual cannot do everything. I see you online, the number of people you give to. God bless you. But at some point, can you buy a laptop for 100 people in the entire village? No.
No, sir. No, sir.
You're not able to do it.
I don't have the money.
And that's why I commend people like you, people like Adiola Shueto, Omoyele Sowore, those that have been putting pressure and been asking for free education. When we talk about free education, people thought we are crazy. I remember my first inaugural speech written by Adiola Shueto in 1995 when I became president. He called education is food. No, don't starve the nation. And just because we're starving the nation today, that slogan that we're starving the nation today, and that's why we find ourselves where we are today. Education is for public good. For any country that invests in education, because China has invested rightly on their education system, and that's where we are today. Because the West, they've invested in right education, and that's the reason they are where they are today. And somebody raised a very important question. Elon Musk was educated in South Africa. He migrated with H-1B visa to the US. Today is the richest man in the world. Maybe he's the third richest man in the world because he dropped 2 days ago. So, but think about Elon Musk in Africa. A lot of our human assets, they are migrating every day from Africa to the global north. Why? Because there's no conducive atmosphere for them. Because we don't have infrastructure. People are migrating because we don't have what it is. The government is not investing rightly in education. Even if there's scholarship, they will give it to their children. They will not even give it to somebody who are qualified to do that. So again, if government will listen, we are going to, continue saying that. So I urge every one of us, do not leave here and go back to business as usual. You want to implement what you have learned here. You want to spread awareness and put pressure on our government to ensure that create a conducive atmosphere for people to learn. No, let us demand better security policies. Let us protect ourselves. Let us protect our family and also protect our business. And let us close the gap. Let us secure our future. And together, we can build cyber resilient Nigeria. And thank everyone of you, for joining this program. We've done 29 minutes past what we plan, to do. And I know some of you still have some other things you want to do. Again, thank you very much. And I'll hand over to you, Baba Show. You have any other things you want to closing remarks?
We appreciate you on behalf of Citizenship Civic Awareness Center, also known as Democracy Vanguard. I want to appreciate our participants, my friends, and my good comrades, and of course, those who have been pushing the idea to have a better nation and a better world. Adiola Shueto is my name. We hope to organize this seminar regularly based on participation and, of course, interest. We appreciate all of you.